Passover, so they recognize what goes on in Exodus chapter 12 if you're taking notes. And you remember Passover, and you think about how God instituted this sacred meal where the Jews would recognize God's faithfulness despite their sin, despite their bondage in Egypt, that the angel of death would recognize this blood upon the doorpost. It would pass over them as they were saved. And so Mary and Joseph make their way to Jerusalem. They celebrate the Passover, probably around 8 days, and then they head home as usual. And most of the time they would celebrate in way of family groups would go together for safety and just for hospitality and recognizing the importance of community. We talked a lot about that over the last year. And so they don't think that there's anything wrong with Jesus not being around. They haven't seen Jesus, at least in a day. But then they start asking questions, and none of the neighbors or none of the family are born, and the shepherds appear and worship, and then you have the 3 wise men from the east, and they also recognize who Jesus is. And every time that it says, and Mary would treasure these things up in her heart, right? And yet, he reaches 12 years old. It's 12 years later. They go to Passover, and this is probably the first time that Jesus has accompanied them to Passover, because Jews didn't become, at least Jewish males, didn't become of voting age in the Jewish synagogue until they were 12 years old. So this may be the first time that Jesus is in Jerusalem with them during the Passover, and yet they recognize they have left Jesus behind. I was thinking about this over the past couple of weeks and thinking about, how do you think Mary's prayer life was as they ran back to Jerusalem? Can you imagine? Joseph, what are we doing? Have you ever been there? Have you ever been to Walmart? I know some of us have kids or some of us have grandkids. We're walking down the aisle in Walmart, and all of a sudden the kid sees something and darts off into the toy aisle, and we look around and we can't find the kid. You know what I'm talking about? It doesn't happen so much anymore because we got security cameras and things like that, and because of the society in which we live, our kids are like tied to our pants leg. But back in the day, I remember there's a couple of times that we would be in a large setting, right? Maybe at Six Flags or something like that. We'd look around and all of a sudden your kid is nowhere to be found. This is not just an